YouTube, Dawson Rider here. This is going to be my review for Power Rangers issue 12. As I said in my Mighty Morphin reviews, again, sorry these reviews have been a little bit late. There's just been a lot of other stuff to cover lately, but if things are going as planned, this should be in a double feature with 11's review coming out just a few hours ago. And 12 was another pretty solid issue. I would say it felt very similar to mmpr 12 in the sense that it felt both like a big issue that was really enjoyable to, like, almost said watch, but to read, but also it felt like a table setting issue as well, where we were setting up for the next big thing, but it didn't feel uneventful. I mean, I guess eventfully, all that really happened was that the Rangers were on an exploding planet that's gonna like explode in 30 seconds, and each one of those seconds represents an episode of Goku and Frieza fighting on Namek. But that's basically the premise, is that the Rangers are on the exploding planet, they find out Draken betrayed them, we set up for the Eltarian War. Eltarian War. Like, on paper, it's only a few little bullet points, but it was a really nice issue with a lot of nice moments within it. Like, basically, we pick up where we left off, and the emissary's gone, and the Imperials are being released, and Zardis releases the final Imperial, and the planet's set to explode, and the Omegas are all left there, and Draken shows up and shows that he, defeated G, and he's going off. And one thing I did really like is he said, look, the thing everyone said would happen, happened, in reference to him betraying the team, which is just funny because that's something that both the characters in the comic were always saying, as well as the fans saying about Draken betraying them. And there was an interesting moment where Jason tried to get through to him and says, I don't think you want to entirely be a villain again. And he says, yeah, and he just leaves. It's definitely interesting, and I get a feeling we're not done with Draken. I'm like 90% sure, I'm 100% sure he'll come back, but I'm like 90% sure he'll come back and be helpful in some manner. Again, I have to restate, I don't want a redemption story for Draken. Redeemed Draken is Tommy, that already exists. But I wouldn't mind seeing him have a bit of anti-hero tendencies. Like, I want him to stay a villain, but with tendency to be a little bit of an anti-hero at times, just because I think mustache-twirling evil is boring, and giving him more nuance makes him more interesting, and they've already done that, so I think it would make sense. But it was a good place to leave it off with an interesting interaction. And then a lot of the interesting interactions happen, or the interesting scenes happen, when they're waiting for the planet to explode. Like, Trini kind of wires G up to broadcast a message out for help, and then when it seems like it's really getting down to the wire, she broadcasts again and, says, if my parents get this, I love you, and sorry I never told you about the Ranger thing. I thought that was a nice beat. There was a nice beat where they're trying to sort of bring some levity to the situation, and they activate G's memory of a time they pulled a prank on him, and they're kind of laughing about that. And there was these really interesting scenes with Zach, where he's seeing visions of that king guy that he left behind. Like, he's talking to Jason, and he starts seeing visions of him saying, like, help me. And then he tells Jason about it because they're all kind of confessing at the end. This could be our last moment together. He's like, I left the king behind. I'm in love with Spider-Man's aunt. And then right when it does, like, this big explosion hits, and it looks like they're done for, and they're underneath all this rubble, and then Barney rubble. I'm just kidding. Underneath all this rubble, and then last minute, the save finally is our real Meower Ranger shows up. I'm going to be honest, I kind of forgot about this. There's been so much going on with the comic, with the Draken stuff and the Imperials and then the Mighty Morphin stuff. Not to mention I was a little bit behind with the reviews. I almost forgot about this. I think I was thinking about it a few weeks ago, but then through reading the last couple issues, I forgot that this was a thing. So that was a nice little beat to end off on. And I'm still very mixed on the concept of it. It's just so strange, but I think it looks kind of cool. And oddly enough, I think it would make a cool Lightning figure. And presuming that the Omega Ranger team continues on after this story arc, I think it's going to make for an interesting team lineup for sure. But I thought it was a good beat to leave off on. Like, that's where it really reminded me of Mighty Morphin. I mean, maybe that's not as impactful as maybe killing Zordon off. But again, there was like a big issue that was also a table setting issue, so it made it kind of interesting. And I think other than the nice little ending of getting a good look at this new Ranger, the issue more interesting was the interactions between the characters, and I really felt the stakes. And it's a weird word to use because it's a comic book, but it felt weirdly cinematic. And I liked even the interactions with Draken. I'm curious where that's coming back, and I'm really excited for this next arc. And I thought it was a really good issue. I would give it a 4. Again, a really cool type of issue that this and mmpr 12 were, where they're both a table setting, setup issue, but also big in and of themselves. But what did you guys think of this issue? What do you want to see happening in the next arc? And also, what do you think of our real Meower Ranger? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for more videos like this and more. Dawson Rider, signing out.